So assembly is going to go on in a couple of stages. Now you see that I've drilled all my holes in the faceplate. What I need to do now is drill some pilot holes into the bottom. So I'm going to use my faceplate as my guide for this. So I've clamped up the faceplate to the bottom. Now I just have to turn it over with my 1/8 inch bit in there. And that's all the pilot hole I need on this. So I can unclamp it. Got myself some Gorilla wood glue here. Love Gorilla glue. Only thing I don't like about it is getting it on my fingers. Now I'm not being overly stingy with it, but I'm not being overly generous. I don't want too much squishing out the side, because that just makes for a lot more cleanup. Notice I don't spread it with my fingers either. I use an acid brush. You get better coverage. Once again, you don't have to clean it off your fingers, and all you got to do is throw the brush away later. Get these for like $200 for $10–15. Harbor Freight and Salvage, it's great. Okay, and I'm laying it on a hunk of plastic. That way I'll be able to take it off again when I want. Okay, so now I have my pilot holes that I drilled a minute ago. Carefully lay those in. Pretend that I didn't just change screw guns. Okay, and now I have my first 2 screws in. Now I didn't screw them all the way in flush, and there's a good reason for that. We may have to adjust for maybe some imperfections in the wood or whatever. We may need to be able to square this thing up a little more once we get the brace blocks in. So I've got my first 2 sunk, which means my two end pieces are going to be aligned. So we're going to do a quick pilot hole drilling in there. And sink 2 more screws. And once again, I'm not sinking them all the way down. Oops. I'm not sinking them all the way down in, so I can use the tension up here to draw everything up tight. So now I get to drill pilot holes for my base pieces, through to the base for these guys. And I'm missing one, so it's on the floor somewhere probably. Yep, there it is. So first thing I'm going to do is put a pilot hole in from the front, so it's held in place so I can flip it over and take care of it from the bottom. Once again, this is just temporary because I'm going to have to go back and glue them all into place. But it gets them all into place where I want them to be. And once again, I can now draw my lines for putting 2 holes in each spot for holding these guys in place. With the added benefit that I will be pretty much getting my pilot holes drilled in the supports at the same time. Okay, I've got all my holes drilled. I've got my pilot holes drilled. I'm countersunk. Now I can glue everything up and put it together. Okay, here we are. We're together. And all I got to do is put the clamps on. And they will go just like this. Here we are. Our clamps are in place. Now once again, it's just a matter of running a carriage bolt through the hole we drilled, putting the clamp guide up into the clamp guide hole, and starting to snug things up. You'll see that there's a nice lip, which is going to fit under the lip of the table saw on both sides. So we kind of hook it under there. I said it hooks under there. There we go. And over we come. Now, just for the moment, I'm going to make sure that this guy is square against my table, because if I did everything right earlier, square against my table means square with the blade. Now you notice through all this, there hasn't been a blade sticking up through the table. Because without the blade there, it makes a good work surface. It's a good flat work surface. So even if you decide not to mount a saw in it, it gives you some place to do your work. Alright, there we go. Our fence is in place. Now I'm going to raise the blade up some. Oh, probably about 3/4 of an inch. Just enough to go through the material I'm going to cut. Make sure the nut is snug down there. I definitely have to get a new saw one of these days. Okay. Yep, just enough coming through. So now we're going to test our cut. So, back on with the safety equipment. Eye protection. Ear protection. And as important as all that is, push stick, because I don't want my fingers coming near a running blade. Now while I'm at it, I know I measured up against the face, but let's measure up against the blade, because after all, that's what counts. So I got about 3.5 centimeters there. And on the back side of the blade, I've got about 3.5 centimeters, identical. So here goes our cut. Push stick and reach. Blade on. And there we go. No binding, no tearing, no bad stuff going on. So we now have ourselves a nice 4-inch rip fence. And so while I would prefer to have a blade guard on there, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. There's great plans on the internet for overarm blade guards, but they're meant for bigger saws. You can get away with this, what we're doing, just being real careful. Don't lose concentration. Don't be distracted when you're working with a table saw. Now, in the next episode, that will be episode 4, we're going to add a tool to the inventory, and that's going to be a router. And that will make this table even more versatile. As a matter of fact, it makes the entire workshop extremely versatile. If you got the wherewithal to get a router right off the bat, boy oh boy, do it, because that's one tool I would never do without. So that's in the next episode. We'll see you then. Until then, keep fighting the good fight. I'll see you next time.